In 2019, France has reformed the legal framework of gambling and its regulation. A new gambling regulatory authority, the ANG, has been set up. It follows the ARGEL, that you must know, with a significantly extended regulatory scope and enhanced powers. The ANG is now responsible, in fact, for all the components of the legal gambling market, both online and offline. And in fact, while the ARGEL regulated only 11% of the French gambling legal market, the ANG now regulates 78%, which represents a market of more than 50 billion euros in bets. Special mentions, nevertheless, of the casinos that are under shared authority between ANG and Minister of Home Affairs. The ANG missions are structured around 4 objectives: prevent excessive or pathological gambling and protect minors, first objective. Second, ensure the integrity, reliability and transparency of gaming, second. Third, prevent fraudulent and criminal activities, as well as money laundering and financing of terrorism. And last, ensure the balanced, fair development of various types of games in order to avoid any economic destabilization of the sectors concerned. To fulfill these 4 missions, ANG has enhanced powers, such as the ability to require the withdrawal of a commercial communication, advertising, involving an inducement to excessive gambling, or the ability to ask for on-site controls. Through the ANG, clearly France wants to step up its gambling regulation in order to better protect the players and favor sustainable growth of the legal market. The ANG, even if it represents a continuation of ARGEL, is not an enlarged ARGEL. It is a new project which requires to rethink regulation. In particular, it must adapt its intervention to monopolies and to players gambling mostly anonymously, and also to betting bureaus all over the territory, which play an important social role. I would like to set up a regulation that would combine support and control of the operators. Support, because I believe ANG must help compliance efforts and provide operators with tools to secure their business and foster trust of the consumers. It is in the interest of the operators, in the interest also of a sustainable growth. But also, if necessary, make clear that the new legal framework must be respected by all operators, which implies a credible and appropriate control strategy. The priority of the ANG will be first to explain and assist the operators in their ownership of the new and rather complex legal framework. Second, to provide the operators with 2 essential compliance documents to help them to set their practice: the reference framework on the prevention of gambling addiction and the protection of minors, on one hand, and the second document, which is the one on the fight against fraud, money laundering and the financing of terrorism. Third, I want to start a dialogue with the operators on regulatory issues, allowing standards to be drawn up as close as possible to sectorial realities, better accepted and more effective. In France, as you may know, 1 person out of 2 is a gambler. Problem gamblers are estimated around 1.2 million. So preventing excessive or pathological gambling is a public health issue to which I attach the utmost importance. I therefore wish to place the player at the heart of the regulation. For that to be real and effective, I want ANG to be as close as possible to the gambling experience and the uses of the players. Therefore, I have 3 main fronts towards the players. First, I want to inform the players. The ANG must be able to provide precise answers and appropriate guidance to them whenever it's necessary. It will carry out communication action for the general public whether through the press, the website, presence on social networks, or providing educational tools. Second, we also want to provide a service to the players. And we have in mind in particular two. One is alternative dispute resolution mechanism offered since September 2019. I want to develop this mediation service in case of a dispute with an operator. I also want to offer another service, which is to better empower the player in controlling his or her own gambling activities. And we have an opportunity to do that because ANG will be in charge from next September to manage the file of banned players. Therefore, we will change the process and the characteristics of the file in order to offer a better service to the player. Third action towards the player, we want to animate the player community. The ANG will develop a platform to animate the community of players so that they can share experiences, advice, support solutions. It will allow the regulator to capitalize on the collective knowledge of the players, their knowledge, their gaming practices, in order to enrich the regulatory framework. The European cooperation is already well established, with regular contacts forged by AGEL with our counterparts in the last years, in particular regarding the European coordination of the fight against sports manipulation. I would like to strengthen this cooperation, which is for me strategic in the next years, on key subjects of common interest, such as e-sport, the fight against the illegal offer, the role of the platforms. We need to have dialogue and conversation with our European counterparts in order to have common positions on these strategic issues.